So this is lesson 1.5, which is about timelines and maps. And the idea here is that if you're going to study theoretical history, you want to have a good idea of the overall structure of history and also of the geography of the world, so that if we start talking about the Bronze Age, you have an idea of when that was. And if we start talking about trade in the Indian Ocean, you have an idea of where the Indian Ocean is and what parts of the world were bordering on the Indian Ocean. And if you already have that understanding, then great. But if not, it's worth spending a bit of time making sure that you can sketch out a timeline and a map of the world. And what I'm going to cover here is not prescriptive. I'm not telling you how you should do it, but it's just an illustration of the kind of thing that you might want to do. So firstly, thinking about timelines, I've said that in this course we'll be concerned with the history of the last 50,000 years. So we can start back here at 50,000 BC, 40,000, 30,000, 20,000, 10,000, and then 0, and then we've got to around about here, the year 2000. So these are thousands of years, kilo years. And in thinking in archaeological terms, this period from about 50,000 BC up to 20,000 is the Old Stone Age, the Upper Paleolithic. And then from 20,000 to 10,000 is the Mesolithic, the Middle Stone Age. Now this is actually a term that's fairly specific to Europe. Terms vary around the world and how archaeologists divide up the phases. So this is a Eurocentric view of things. And then from around 10,000 BC to around about 3,000 is the Neolithic, the New Stone Age. And that's the time when people were taking up farming, agriculture. Then from 3000 BC to about 1000 BC is the Bronze Age. And then from 1000 BC, you've got the Iron Age. And, you know, you could say the Iron Age continues up to our time, or maybe we're in the Plastic Age or the Space Age, whatever. We haven't really got terms for that. So that's the archaeological view of the world. Then for historians, how they would divide up history is from here all the way up pretty much to the beginning of the Bronze Age is prehistory, before history. So there wasn't any history, not history in terms of documents, because there wasn't any writing. Then with the Bronze Age up to perhaps around 500 BC or a bit earlier is the ancient world. Then with Greece and Rome, so yes, from about 6 to 500 BC up to around AD 500 is the classical world. And then comes the Middle Ages from about AD 500 up to 1500, the medieval period, Middle Ages, and then from 1500 to today is the modern world. So that's how historians divide things up. And then we can add on to this some specific events that we might be interested in. So say around 20,000 here, that's the 20,000 BC, the last glacial maximum. So the ice ages started to come down around about here, and the ice ages fluctuated a bit, but this was when the glaciers were last at their maximum extent. And after that, we've been moving into a warmer world, so we're in a warmer world. And then we can add, say, here, that's the domestication of the dog, the world's human's first domestic animal. With the Neolithic, we've got agriculture coming in. The Bronze Age, pretty much the time when we start with cities. Then, you know, we can put certain empires and civilizations on this. So from the Bronze Age up to about naught, the year naught is the Egyptian civilization. The Roman Empire is, say, from around 300 BC, let's say, up to AD 500 in the west. So it continued on to 1500 in the east in Constantinople. So that's Rome. And then we've got, say, Columbus at 1500 and 1700, 1750 steam. Obviously the scale's getting a bit ridiculously small here, so you know we may want to, if we want to study these things, do a separate timeline just with, say, the last 2000 years. So that's the kind of thing you might want to do for yourself, just to make sure you've got a good picture and make sure that you can draw that diagram and populate it with the things that are particularly of interest to you. And then the other thing I said you want to be able to do is to be able to draw a sketch of the world. So this is something you can sit down with, but if you want to do a very simple sketch, you can do the Americas, say, with a bit of a zigzag like this, and then go up there. So you've got North and South America. And then if you want to be really crude about it, for Eurasia, you can just draw an oval like that, and then you've got Africa, so a triangle, and you've got sort of Indonesia here, and Australia hanging off the end there. Now that really is rather crude, but if you want to do something a bit more sophisticated, you can start here about halfway up the Americas and draw a line like that. Then it sort of comes in here. Then there are three lobes, a small one, a bigger one. That's Indochina, and then we've got the India. And it kind of comes over here. We've got the Arabian Peninsula, and then you can go sort of something like that into Europe. And then for Africa, it comes out here. It's a bit of a lobe. It goes down here and up to meet the Arabian Peninsula like that. And then hanging off Indochina there, got Indonesia, Papua New Guinea there, and Australia looks sort of something like that. And you know, this is still pretty crude, but you can then start to refine it. Well, the first thing you might want to do is note on it the oceans. There's the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, and the Pacific Ocean. Then we've got, you know, the Black Sea. We might want to differentiate this a bit more. We could put in Great Britain, Ireland. We've got Italy somewhere here, and so on. So you can certainly refine that and really go as far as you like.